quick demo of the ideas for cross contour. With cross contour, what we want to do, like with pretty much anything else where I'm letting you sketch it out, which should be most things, we're just going to go ahead and really quickly get a loose gesture sketch. I would suggest even just, okay, this is like a blob that this thing's going to fit into. That way you know it fits on your paper first. And then real quick, just go ahead and get a sketch. With something that's symmetrical, like a skull, a face, it would be good to get a structure drawing of it a little bit. So you'll see that the face is structured like this. This skull's not facing right towards me. So I'll just get a structure of like where the mouth and the eyes and the nose are at. That'll help me. And then from there, it's pretty much just gesture drawing. So a lot of times when I'm doing this structure gesture hybrid drawing, I'm not doing like gesture first and then structure second. You know, I'm mixing and matching them as I work. I realize that needs to get a little bigger than that initial blob that I made, but I made sure I had a blob that like I had some room to work with so nothing gets cut off at the edge of the paper. Then similar from here, I would just keep going and refining the drawing. It's very important that I know where all of the edges are at on the object, all of the major forms are at, so that when I start going over it with cross contour, I know where the lines are going to warp at. If you just get the outline and then start trying to fill it in, or if you jump right to cross contour, you're going to have a problem. I'm even going to go and show some of like these marks for the teeth. This should all be happening really lightly in the 6H pencil, and then I would even go through and get as specific as each tooth. That way when I have to warp my lines up and around the teeth, I know where they're all at. And there's not so many where it would be like a bad idea to count. Okay, then I can see I need those teeth back there a little bit more. I'm not spending a ton of time on this. You know, I've only been drawing for 3 minutes. Well, 2.5 minutes really. So this should still be happening quick, loose, responsive. I'm not tightening up and like trying to get everything perfect. I know for people without as much experience, it's going to take a little bit longer, but yeah, 10 minutes should be good. If you're taking longer than that, you're going to cause yourself a lot of problems later in the semester where we have, you know, 3-4 hours to make a drawing, and a lot of that time should be spent doing shading. If you're spending 2 hours laying the thing out, then you're not making a wise use of your time. Okay, that's good enough for me. What we want to do now is in pencil first start to figure out what the cross contours will be. Now this is an assignment that I'd like really highly recommend that you be logged in and participating in the Zoom meeting. That way you can do this stuff in pencil first, some of it, and I can make sure that you've got the idea. Once I've seen that you have got the idea, then I can tell you, all right, go ahead and move to pen. You want to move to pen as soon as possible. You don't want to do this whole thing in pencil and then come back and trace it in pen if you don't have to. That winds up being like a bit of a waste of time. Just tracing everything over. Notice I'm like warping. I'm trying to warp over the brow here. So my lines are getting thicker and thinner. I'm wrapping around. I'm going to go ahead and move over like if I was drawing a pen now. So if like say you're in class and you send me a photograph of the thing you're working on and I say, yeah, that looks great, go ahead. Then at that point you would recreate what you've got here. Try and refine it even a little bit. Like maybe I would say, oh, actually I could do that. And this line here, I could make it curve around the back a little bit more to make it look more three-dimensional. So the pencil is just like a good starting point. good map to start with. Notice on the skull, it's nice. This contour up here, you can actually have it be a cross contour. Get these wrapping around. I'm going to bump up a little bit there to show that crease in the plastic. So we want to be specific too. We don't want to just do one line. Oh, it's round here. You know, try and really see, oh, it warps, it bumps. It dips in a little bit, it bumps out again. The more of that you have, the better. This would like wrap in here, really head back, wrap down around maybe. This stuff's hard to predict, and then come forward, and then over, and then here it like drops behind, and maybe like come back out here. Maybe that drops behind, really goes in there. Something like that. When you're looking at the object, remember you also want to think about what's the best direction of cut. Like if I go across the skull like this, go wrap back up in there, this would come back out here. I'm kind of going to miss the teeth when I get to there. If I go across this way, it might be a little bit hard to get that part of it, but then I can really get the teeth. So maybe I actually want to imagine that I'm cutting it this way, and that would lead to a series of lines. That would look something like this. I don't know. It's hard to predict. We're doing the best we can here, myself included. But notice, even though I'm cutting this way, these lines can wrap up around, go back. They don't have to always be headed at that angle or that angle. Like with anything else that we start with the pencil, once you're done, you should be able to erase the pencil and just see the lines. Remember, we don't want contour lines. We don't want those lines in the end. When I take this away, where the cross contour lines start and stop should create the edge for me, and I'll play connect the dots. I don't need to have these lines coming in here. You can have those in the pencil, but don't have them in the finished drawing. So the pencil should get erased out, and when you photograph it to turn it in, it should all be a series of cross contour lines like that. Alright. Something that's going to be really important to consider while you're working on these cross contour images is where your eye is at in relationship to the object, or in our case where the camera was placed in relationship to the object that we're drawing. This is also going to be important for the section that we're doing on linear perspective coming up next, so this is a good preview for that. I always want, when I'm drawing, to be aware of my eye level. If I've got an object that's curved, so let's say I've got a can, I've got a cylinder, and my eye level's in the middle of it. Lines that are close, anything in the middle is just going to look straight across. As the lines move further up, they're going to start to curve more dramatically. So the higher above the eye level I get, the more dramatic the curve's going to get. Same as I get below the eye level, the more dramatic the curve's going to get. If I have a can that's like totally above my eye level, you'll get an ellipse at the bottom. And I'm even going to go ahead and, let me do this a little smaller. I'm going to go ahead and tilt the can away from me a little bit even. So that's going to get a really dramatic curve. And then all of the lines would be curving away. So on the outside of the can. But then on the inside of the can, you would think like this line wraps around, if you think about it, see-through, and you would be able to see the inside of the can. So the outside of the can would have like frowns, and the inside and bottom of the can would have smiles. And then the smile gets more dramatic as it goes down. That will reverse itself. Say we're looking at a can below us, and it's like really far below, so we can really see down inside of it. If it was close close up, we would see less of the inside of it. So if you have a cup up here, we're going to see less of the inside. If you have a cup down here, we're going to see more of the inside. And then the smileys, the further down below, would be on the outside, and then this would wrap around to the frown curves. And this one you wouldn't see it, but we'll just exaggerate it a little bit there. You would see those frownies on the inside of it. So that's that sense of where your eye is at in relationship to the object is going to be very important. You can't have like a can like this and just keep your lines going like that, and then all of a sudden you're at the bottom, and it's like, that just doesn't make sense. Another thing is on these cans or an object like some of these torsos that we have and stuff, you don't want to connect like this. That doesn't make sense either. They have to, you know, the idea is that it's wrapping around the back a little bit. Say I had a sphere. I had two spheres, one on top of the other, and you'll see how this would apply to bodies. I don't get to do this on both spheres. And I definitely don't want to do this, where they pinch like that. That would be terrible. But I don't get to do this on both spheres either, because if I'm understanding that my eye level is here, so this is where my eye level is at now in relationship to this sphere, then on this one, it's all below. And so it's all going to wrap like that. And notice how I'm really curving the line back around the back, because I'm basically seeing all the way around to the back on most of it. On the top, I see all the way around. Might even see 2 levels of all the way around. So this is a very important concept. Where's your eye level at? This is going to be even more important when we get to linear perspective in the next set of assignments.